When does a video become a film?
That's a great question. I asked that myself a lot, especially when I first got started. We talked about before what we call ourselves, are you a videographer, a filmmaker? What the hell is the difference between that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just watched this video on YouTube recently from Mark Bone, really awesome guy, talks about documentary and narrative filmmaking a lot. And he talks about in this video from videographer to filmmaker, one tip, he says that story is what makes a difference, basically. And he kind of goes into explaining how, you know, a normal story is created, kind of like that there needs to be some sort of character with a problem or a desire, or it starts out with like there's a character with a desire, they want something, and you kind of like know that from the start, and then they get to this point of a challenge. There's a challenge to get to what they want, and you know it goes through that challenge, and then you know there's a resolution of how they got to that point. And just that simple structure, adding that to your videos basically makes it into an actual story and an actual film, and is much more engaging. Isn't just, you know, another eye candy video that like we all love sometimes, and sometimes I default to doing that. And in fact, right now more than anything, I'm focusing on story. I'm like, fuck all the quality and like audio and everything. Like, I'm just like, forget about that for a second.
Yeah.
Because I kind of already know that, you know, obviously I can always improve. But like the one thing I personally need to improve is to really make sure that I'm focusing on telling some sort of story, you know, like the person watching should have some sort of connection to my piece. And to do that, you kind of need a story.
And for stories, we don't have to have something written. There's a lot of, like the old silent movies, there's definitely a story there.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be dialogue. It can be visually, for sure.
But in a documentary, you kind of go after, you research, you go after your subject, and you end up creating a lot of the story in the editing too. But in normal situations, and this reminds me my experience I had before when I was doing theater for many years as an actor and as a writer and then as a director, there is this very classical approach that comes from the Greek tragedy, and then contemporary playwriting. It has a structure that can be adjusted and be more creative, but this structure kind of works every single time. I took some notes because I this was a long time ago. This dramatic structure is the typical one is linear. So you have exposition, which introduces the background of the story and events and characters. Then there is the rising action, a series of events that create suspense and narrative. And then the climax, which is the part of the story where the suspense reaches its highest part, and falling action, when the main conflict starts to resolve, and then the resolution, where everything kind of when we see the end of the conflict. In fact, one of the things I've learned in many workshops I did is there's always conflict. Mm-hmm. In the character, the desire of achieving something different, it's kind of a conflict, and there is always conflict, for instance, in dialogue. We're always trying to win a conversation, or at least trying to pass information. So, yeah, but when you ask that question, for me, it has a lot to do with dedication, with put your heart, your soul into that. Because if you have that passion, you will need to learn all those stuff, all that stuff, and you need to give all this knowledge you will find it. It's easy to find. So when you said about eye candy, I totally agree with you. It's kind of a norm now because of short format, because of Instagram, because of short YouTube videos. You just don't have enough time to develop.
Yeah, I'm seeing more and more though, even in like short little TikTok videos of like pretty creative little stories.
Yeah.
You know, and even like purely visual, which is pretty cool. Like without relying on dialogue, just like showing this whole like sequence of like them trying to do something, and all of a sudden something crazy happens, and then like the ending, the resolve. So I think that it almost seems like I'm starting to see it more again. And
also maybe we start seeing it because we are aware of it.
Yeah.
Right? So
and we're getting shown things that are specifically tailored to us, you know. So yeah, it depends on who you are and what you searched, what kind of content you're seeing, but it's definitely happening. People are getting super creative with the short form stuff too.
Yeah, because even though that structure that I was talking about, if you know what's going on in terms of structure, in terms of creating, you can be flexible and change it and skip a step and make it non-linear, make it circular, use flashbacks. There are many tools to just circular movie. In the end of the movie, it ends as it started. There's so many ways to do it, and also I believe there's still some to discover.
Totally. So you can even using a structure doesn't mean you can't play around with it. It's the same thing with like learning the rules of like, say, the 180-degree rule on your camera. You should know why it's there and like how to use it, but by all means break it. Like if you want to break it and it's like you have some sort of idea to break it, then like, you know, it's totally guaranteed to break whatever rules you want. But like he actually, I think, mentioned in this video, Mark Bone, that sometimes he'll take the middle of the film that he made where like the conflict is happening or the climax is happening, and he'll just take a chunk and put it at the very beginning. And it literally starts with that. So instantly the viewer sees some sort of like challenge, you know, in the character, and then it kind of reverts back to like the intro.
A perfect example of plasticity is Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction
is the perfect example.
I wonder if, and I'm assuming that they made that linearly and then in the edit mixed it up.
Well, if you're used to creative industries, if you are used to do any kind of creative stuff, you realize that at some point you have all the elements and you start playing games like little blocks like kids use, and you say, oh, what if I just put this block here? So I think in a situation like Pulp Fiction, for sure, it has this kind of straight story, and then it just starts playing because you need a story, right? What happens? These dudes they meet here, and then he's like, what if? And then Bruce Willis shows up.
Yeah, that's the art of editing too. Like I think when I first started editing, I was just editing everything linearly as the clips as I shot them. And then I finally realized I'm like, no, I can put these clips wherever the hell I want, and I should start trying to put them in different places to see what can come out of it, you know, and to experiment more with the way that the video goes. And
sometimes you learn these things by accident because you're missing footage here, and you need to find a way.
Happens by accident for me all the time.
Another thing is just the question was how to become a film, but let's not forget that video can also be art form not related to cinema or movies. And for instance, in museums you find many ways of creating art pieces that have no narrative or crazy. It's just, but it has a profound impact.
So it's true. So this doesn't necessarily there can be separate things for sure, and different expressions.
I think if you put your heart into things, like we do, you will find this. You will face the problem and you will find the answer. The library is there. Before it was like a building, now it's YouTube, now it's Google. So
I just feel it is something good to at least think about, because I feel like these days it's all like when you watch on YouTube, it's all about just like how to make the image look a certain way.
Yeah.
And how to get a certain look, how to color grade, how to like do a certain camera movement. And there's very few people actually talking about story. And like that's where this whole art form was born out of. So
and
it's good to kind of think about it.
Platforms, they kind of ask you to publish a lot. So you want to make it fast. If you want to make it fast, you don't really give yourself time to develop.
Yeah, story takes a long time. If you're producing a video or a film, whatever you want to call it, it takes a lot more time to really, you know, pre-plan and editing everything if you have like a really distinct storyline going throughout it. But the end result, like in my pieces, is I mean I love them 10 times as much when I'm able to like put that extra attention and love into the story.
It's funny because I always felt it's all about the story, and I really feel in my head it's like a cliche. People always say that, but it's
they don't do it.
But it's true. It's true.
It's easy to say it, but it's another thing to actually do it.
But it's true that the story is like, it's a way to make it work that very rarely, can be a bad story, or you can just, maybe you're not able to just do it the best. You know, that might be, you'll find some problems. Maybe the final result isn't as good, but it's a very important step if you want to make sure this thing has some backbone.
So on the opposite tip, do you think you can use a kit lens professionally?
Yeah, I think so. I've used, for instance, when I was using this camera that I have in front of me, the original Sony A7S that came with this cheap 2870. It's not even a fixed aperture lens. It's a 3.5, 6.3. I love this lens. I really like it. It's cheap, light, doesn't extend. So if you do gimbal stuff, it's amazing for that.
That's the lens you have right here?
Yeah. It is stabilized because Sony has a amazing ISO. Or ISO, how do you say it?
I say ISO.
ISO. It's very forgiving when you just, and I also like the zoom is very, very soft, and you can zoom on this lens.
What do you think about the quality, like the sharpness and the like the look of it?
I love it. It's just when I use Zeiss lenses, sometimes it's too sharp. So this one, I really like it. The problem is when you shoot something super, super sharp, you can always unsharp. And if you use the kit lens that usually have lower quality glass, but you know, in the end, I really love it. And maybe one day we can just make a little test with our kit lenses and with professional lenses, like super expensive lenses, just to show the difference and see if there is a very noticeable difference.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I've done this test with my lenses, and I wasn't really testing that. That wasn't my intention. I was testing the look of a vintage lens compared to like a newer lens. But I ended up testing all my lenses, and my Zeiss 18 to 35 lens was definitely a lot sharper than any of my other lenses. But this is the question of like, does it need to be that sharp and like clinical, or do I want it to be that sharp? If you know, I think if you're shooting a commercial, a high production commercial, of course it needs to be like the best quality, and you're probably at that point going to be renting gear, and you can rent whatever the hell you want. But if you're doing just, you know, projects that most of us are doing, you know, whether it be a passion project or a YouTube video or a freelance shoot with a client, real estate, weddings, any of that, I honestly don't think that anybody's going to tell the difference. And then once you know, go in and color grade, color correct, however you want. Like there's so much that you can do, and I know that you shouldn't rely on post and you should focus on getting the best quality to begin with, but obviously the drawback to that is that these lenses are freaking expensive.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, if money is of no object to you, then yeah, get a nice lens. But like, if you don't have an extra $2,000 laying around for a lens that may not even be the lens that you're going to be using all the time, I think, kit lenses are great. And like this video I watched by Ryan Kao, he's talking about an underrated Sony lens. It's a 24-105 f4, and he was talking about using it for this whole crazy documentary that he did, and how the f4 is just fine. Everybody, including myself, thinks that you need at least 2.8 or it's crap. And with the new cameras, and especially the Sonys, the low light capabilities are so good that like f4 is just fine.
It is fine.
And you can still get that, blurred background if you just move a little closer, or with this zoom lens, if you're zoomed in, to like 75 or like 85 or even 100, you're going to have that bokeh that you want, So, it reminded me that kit lenses they have their place. And actually, after watching that video, I started using my kit lens that I bought with the A6600. It's an 18-135 f3.5 to 5.6, and I just wasn't using it that much before because I thought I just always needed like 2.8 or 1.4. I want to shoot all the way open. And you don't always want to shoot all the way open. Sometimes you want everything to be in focus.
Yeah.
And like, if you think that it always something needs to be out of focus, then maybe you need to think more about why you're doing the shot and like what you're trying to, back to the story. How is that going to add to your story?
It's like an obsession that some people have with the out of focus situation, because if you're in a beautiful location, I understand you want to create some separation, but you really want to give a little bit of an idea of what's behind.
Yeah,
so
especially if you have a gorgeous background.
Yeah, you're shooting with a beautiful background. You wanna show it. Also, I really think the flexibility for someone that, for instance, uses gimbal, not having to change lenses, the range that you can have like a 24, 28 mil. And suddenly you are at 105. This is amazing. This is really...
Yeah, that 18-135 I've been using now on weddings, and I just don't take it off the camera. During the ceremony at least. And then maybe afterwards I'll swap to a 50, 1.4 or something. But like, it works really perfect for especially run and gun.
Do you feel any time that, there's something...
I mean, I've felt sometimes that I wish I had more light, but I mean, it depends on the camera I think you're shooting on and how good your low light is. The A6600 isn't as good low light as the A7S, so, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that big of a difference.
Prime lenses, they exist for a reason.
Yeah.
They have less glass. They give more clarity to the image, and you can choose 1.4 or 5.6. It's your choice for sure. But if you're in a budget, and sometimes even if you're not in a budget, but just in terms of flexibility and sometimes weight, expensive lenses, good lenses are very heavy. Yeah. And if you carry a gimbal all day and you have like more half a kilo on you, it can be half a kilo, to be honest.
Yeah, that kit lens on the gimbal is so nice. It weighs nothing.
Yeah.
But if you're shooting handheld, the weight is actually better. Like, you get less shake. If you're shooting video, that is.
So to answer this question, it is 100% possible, because I've been paid many, many times for gigs, and I used this. I don't know the price of this, but this is cheap. Me too.
Secret's out. We've been using crappy lenses. And everybody loves the videos. So.
And this is really cheap. And then if you have an accident, it's a cheap lens.
Yeah, you're not like stressing about this like freaking $2,000 lens.
This thing about gear, and gear porn has to stop.
It's all marketing to sell more gear.
Yeah, because they have to produce. They have to continue.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love gear and I love nice camera gear, but it's totally all marketing. And the thought that we always need the highest quality and the new thing that just came out is literally we're just being marketed to that idea.
You've been filming a lot with a really old lens, like that you love, the 51.4.
My old vintage Canon lens is freaking beautiful, and my cheap little 50 1.4 I got for like $200 is I've been using it all the time. Autofocus isn't the best on it.
But you go
That's
around.
kind of like, I mean, depending on the lens and the camera, you know, these cheaper lenses might operate different for different, depending on what you have. So
it's true.
You know.
And some kit lenses are really bad.
Yeah.
So not all kit lenses are good. And recently, in the last 6-7 years,
what is this lens again?
This is the
Sony FE.
Sony FE
28 to 70.
28 to 70 optical steady shot, 3.5, 5.6.
And then this one, the 18 to 135. This is actually for APS-C, so this is not full frame.
But you can use it on full frame with
you can use
APS,
it on full frame.
APS-C crop. Can I see something?
But this one I'm pretty happy with. It does come out a little bit, but it's so light it doesn't affect a balance of the gimbal like at all. And what I do is when I bounce the gimbal, I bounce it halfway out, and it works perfect.
It's possible.
Pedro, did you watch skate videos as a kid?
Oh yeah, many. For me, skate videos are so inspiring because for me it's like a school of DIY in video. You have what you have, gear, the equipment, the friends, whatever you have, you do it with that. And historically, for me, it was always an inspiration because I know the skateboard mentality. I was a skateboarder for a while, and I just love it. And the creativity, the roughness, the way they edit, the graphics. I love everything. Super punk rock. And what about you?
Yeah, I was big into skateboarding, and though I definitely watched all the skate videos. I don't remember like which ones I liked the best, and like I guess I wasn't like into at that time really looking at like the filming of it. I was more just like watching the tricks. But now going back and watching some of these videos, I see them as like really awesome, just like art projects that have their own very distinct style. And I think we're kind of the first like consumer amateur filmmakers, you know. They were taking cameras that anybody could buy that were like, you know, at the time cheap cameras, and they were making these little films that they would actually sell and like sell a lot of.
What you're saying, it's true, because the fact that they were doing it as like in an amateur way, there were more people doing that. Even your father and my father were doing that. The distribution aspect, the fact that this would sell all over the world,
totally.
That's serious business.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of money coming in.
Yeah. And what about that? You showed me that Spike Jonze video.
Oh, this is a very old. I wanted to talk about this video that came recently from Trasher. This is a video from Baker Skateboards called Horses.
I haven't even watched that.
With the skateboard.
I've seen some parts of it, but
SPANKY.
That's more recent.
Yeah, that's a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
The one I showed you with Spike Jonze is very old. It's called Fully Flared, and it's crazy. But he did even one called Video Days, which is like a very important movie for skateboarding. And it's funny, the name called Video Days. And then he started a career that we all know how it how it's going. It's like Oscar winner, and
Yeah, you could tell in those videos that he was going somewhere with filmmaking. He was taking the skate video to a different level or a different cinematic style.
And because he did those videos, such an original way, he got a phone call from Sonic Youth asking him when he was like 16 or 17 to make a music video that I remember watching. It had to do a little bit with skateboarding. I'm not going to sing now, but I even remember the song. And then he did Beastie Boys, and then he did Fatboy Slim, and then suddenly he does Being John Malkovich.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, I think a lot of we'll probably find out that if you looked into it, that a lot of filmmakers came from that more DIY culture, not just coming from the straight film industry, film school culture, but like, started just playing around with video when they were a kid, and just stuck with it. Editing
in camera. So yeah, for me, it's really a big inspiration. Today, there's less and less full-length movies because of Instagram, because of this fast-paced the apps that we have on our phones. But I think it's something nice just to, even if you don't know skate videos, just try to find the more famous and just have a look at 2 or 3.
At just the style and like the way they put it together and how they film, like it all has a very distinct style of doing it. And you were telling me that they called themselves filmers.
Yeah. It's filmers.
That was a new word for me. Like, what do you call yourself? Could be.
I like it. I think it's very
no ego involved.
Straight to the point.
You're the one that's filming.
So they have photographers and filmers.
Yeah.
It's cool, and it has a very interesting. You need to be a good filmer. You need to have technique. It's not just if I start today filming, they will say, "Hey, dude, I have a friend that he will come tomorrow. You don't have to come tomorrow."
Well, it helps to be a skateboarder.
Yeah, you have to.
You need to. Well, first you're riding a skateboard.
You have to,
and also to know what angle and like where they're gonna go and where they're gonna land. Like it's almost like a little choreographed dance.
It is. Sometimes you need to pass in front, turn the camera. It's a choreography that you plan. If you're doing a line, which is a bunch of tricks, like let's say from 2 to 6 or even more, it's a choreography. You repeat that choreography all the time, and
it's like the same as like blocking in a movie, like deciding where the actor is going to move. Okay, the actor's going to walk in here, the camera needs to slide over here. It's literally the same as that, but this was people that had no education of that at all. They just kind of like figured it out, and it worked. So
if you want to start watching a really cool skate video that I think is really, really special, this last video we were talking, it's called Horses, from Baker Skateboards with the skateboarder SPANKY. It's amazing because it's incredibly shot and the skateboarding is just awesome. So have a look at that.
Yeah, I gotta check that out. I actually want to go back and watch some of the old videos that I watched. I think there was like a toy machine video that I used to love. I actually watched a ton of snowboard videos too. And they have, kind of a similar vibe. And some of my favorite music to this day, I found from, both skateboard and snowboard videos, but they always had the best soundtracks.
Oh, man.
Too.
And the music is super important. If you hear a skateboarder talking about a video part, they talk about the skating, and they always talk about the music.
Yeah,
it's like
the choice of the music and how it goes with it.
Skateboarders are very concerned about how they look. It's all about style. There's like the technical skateboarders, and then if you have style, man, people just love you. So clothing and music and shoes are super important.
Yeah, it's kind of all about looking really fucking cool.
Yeah, and you get a lot of girls like that.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. What do you think about Paparazzi?
I think they are really good people. I think they're all Christians. No, honestly, of course, we all know they suck. We all know they are leeches. We all know it's the worst piece of shit.
Yeah, what? How did that? I mean, you would think that, like, coming from still, they all have to be, like, maybe they're not photographers to begin with. They're just a part of that, like, journalist, like, media company, and then that's just their focus is, like, because, I mean, the photos are never, honestly, that great.
unless you're into pixelation.
Yeah, it's extremely zoomed in. But yeah, this article that you told me about, what was it? Snoop Dogg? Oh, it was a video of, no, what was it?
It was an article with Snoop Dogg, but he had a video where he was just a little bit pissed off, which we don't see Snoop Dogg pissed off a lot, because some paparazzi photographer sued Nas, right? For using. So the artist used a picture where, maybe you can help me here. So Nas was in the picture
with Tupac. Like back in the 80s.
Yeah. And like a year ago, I don't know, he posted on Instagram, and now he's being sued by this photographer because he says he's the author.
Yeah.
This is just...
that he didn't have, like, the okay to post his photo.
This is crazy. The guy is in the picture.
In the picture.
The guy is in the picture. And even if... this is a very complicated topic.
Yeah. Do you own the photo of someone that you take? And especially if you took that photo without their, you know, their okay with... taking it. Like, if you kind of stole that photo from them, they didn't want to be on camera, which most of the time people hate the fucking paparazzi and are like kind of covering up.
Even if you're not paparazzi, if you're a street photographer, you'll have problems.
Yeah.
People don't like it.
It's a complicated question. This, I think we could talk about this forever, but like in this scenario, I think it's just absurd that he's getting sued for posting a picture of him and his, you know, really good friend that passed away. And like, this photo has probably been all over the internet, like, for many years. You know, it's on, and you can say Google Images and like whatever, anybody could find it at any time. You can say that Nas was using his work, but he is using Nas' name, because these pictures, they go to archives like Getty Images and things like that. And if you open the Getty website and you search for Tupac or for Nas, you need to do a search, and you'll find this picture using his name. It's not using the name of the photographer. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I hope this guy loses, and I hope he has to pay a lot of money to his lawyers because he's being an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a money grab. You know.
On the other hand, I have a little story that it happened to me. I used to do a lot of pictures on the street, and it's a different thing, because I was taking a picture and there was this couple, and they noticed that I took a picture. They were in frame. The guy comes to me very, very upset. And I said, well, dude, I can erase the photo, but let me ask you something. When you go to a library and you see books from 1900 with people on the street, would you prefer everything was empty of people? And the guy was like, oh, I get your point. And he let me...
You're documenting human history.
And I almost had to explain him that this type of photography exists. And then with this example, he kind of got it.
Yeah, that's a good way to...
But sometimes people don't care. It's a kind of an intrusion. I had a young kid really pissed off. He was doing parkour, and he came running at me. You can't, because he was young. I was just, come on, man, just get out of here. But it's tricky. And it's so tricky that the law changes from country to country to country to country. Mm-hmm. But in theory, if you're in a public space, you can take pictures of everything. But if you're going to use the picture commercially, you need to have an authorization.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you know, if you're using a photo, say like you're making a website and you just take a photo off of Google Images, you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
Chances are you're probably not, unless your website gets like, super famous. But legally speaking, you're not supposed to use that image. You're supposed to go on, and buy it, or contact the person and ask them, or buy it from them.
You need to be careful, because there's software that photographers that deal with archival stuff, stock stuff, they can
search.
They can search.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Also, recently I discovered there's software that you can see if a picture was manipulated in Photoshop.
Oh yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they can find it, and you might be in trouble, because it's not lawful.
Yeah.
Anyway,
laws are meant to be broken.
I just hope this photographer loses this, because it's just nuts. If someone takes a picture of me, I see it online, it's like, oh, I'm here with Tupac, okay. I'm here with Carl, let me put this on my Instagram, and this guy comes and say, hey, you have to pay me or ask permission. I'm
absurd.
there.
I agree with Snoop Dogg in this scenario.
Yeah.
Fuck the paparazzi.
Yeah, fuck the police.
So, do you think... No. Can a camera lens kill you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Camera lenses are dangerous in many ways.
I've always been a little bit careful when I'm working with lenses, because I'm afraid of it. Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago, we had a little segment about Nikon making a custom sound for the electronic shutter, because the new camera doesn't have mechanical shutter, and they put some sounds there. We thought it was important. In this case, they have a new lens now with a new technology that really can kill you. Literally. So if you have a pacemaker, because the lens has magnets, you can really...
It uses the magnets to focus, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the super smooth focus system. But if you have... It says not only a pacemaker, but any device, any medical device in you. And they know this. This isn't something somebody else figured out.
Yeah,
Nikon knows this.
Yeah.
And there's a warning when you buy this lens that it could kill you.
My question is, in 20 years, you will buy this lens secondhand on eBay.
Oh, man.
I got this amazing lens, and it's like, and you take a picture,
you
like,
you gotta zoom in or focus, and just hard stops.
So smooth focus, but like sudden death.
Yeah.
Nikon
really bringing in the new features.
Yeah. Nikon is really killing it.
Yeah.
Literally. And we have to decide. You say Nikon?
Oh, yeah.
I say Nikon. So
you say Nikon. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think there's a lot of things that we say differently, being from Europe and the U.S.
90%, 95%, you say it the right way, because you have.
But the right way,
perfect English,
I think, is Nikon in Japanese.
I think this is the 1%. I'm right.
And this is also with I used to always say bokeh.
Bokeh.
Oh no, I always said bokeh. What did I say? Now I don't even remember what I said.
I think you used to say
I said bokeh.
Bokeh.
But it's also a Japanese word, and it is pronounced bokeh. Like
I think it's bokeh. Bokeh.
Yeah.
And Nikon. Canon.
But I just would feel weird saying Nikon now that because my first camera was a Nikon, and I've been like,
it's tricky.
I can't change it now, nor do I think I need to.
Don't do it. They need to change, and I think they need to start doing some research and development in pacemaker technology, so they get rid of the technology pacemakers are done today, and then they can release this lens.
Yeah.
That's a tip for you, Nikon. Nikon.
Get it together. Stop killing our photographers out there.
Stop killing people. Come on. It's easy. Just don't do that. Okay. We're done for today. So, thank you so much for being with us here.
Welcome to Blown Highlights. We just kind of rebranded.
Yeah.
And we'll be talking just about different videos on YouTube, articles, podcasts, any kind of new things coming out. Just,
highlights.
The highlights.
The highlights.
This week's highlights.
And please subscribe, because of course this is a new channel, and you know it's important to subscribe and like and all that.
Check out our other stuff. We got our Instagrams down in the description. I got another personal YouTube channel talking about filmmaking photography as well, if you want to check that out.
And we usually link the things we talk about.
All the videos and everything. Yeah, will be linked in the description.
So guys, thank you so much, and see you soon. Bye bye. Later.